UK pound is plummeting. Why is it happening? Economists all over the world, including IMF, International Monetary Fund, blaming the UK government's recent plan on tax cuts. How come the tax cut became the reason for the pound to collapse? Well, generally the tax cut is good for the people, right? Then how the tax cut became the reason for pound to collapse? It's quite important to note that whose tax they are cutting.
Are you worried about this government being seen to be helping the better off more than the poorer people?
Absolutely not. Look, we are not just about benefiting the rich, but benefiting the rich benefits everyone. And let's not forget the rich have more houses to heat and some of us have stables. But look, this term trickle-down economics is something that's been mischaracterised by the left on what our government is doing. We're not trickling down, we are watering a whole garden selectively. If you're watering a garden, do you water everything in it? So some would argue yes, but I would say no. No, you water the lovely flowers and not the weeds. I'm not saying the working class are weeds, but they don't help the flowers grow, and the flowers is what maketh the garden. Okay? But you have to understand, we had austerity, then we were levelling up, then we trickled down, and now we're pruning the working class, which helps everyone. And it's up to Mother Nature on whether they grow back again next year.
I'm not against the tax cut, even if it is done for the rich. Yes, I could be employee and poor today, but in the future I could be billionaire and the employer, but I'm not taking a stand on either side. So generally tax cutting is good, but what is the problem with this tax cutting? If they reduce the government spending and then use that money to cut the tax, then it's good for the people who cut their tax. But instead of doing that, if they create more money and cut the tax, that the newly created money gonna devalue the existing currency. It's basically like taking money from the set of people and giving to another set of people. Well, that's not a good thing to do. The UK pound is facing 37 years record low. The previous record low for the British pound against the US dollar was 37 years ago on February 25, 1985, when 1 pound was worth a little over $1. Over the last 1 year, Canadian dollar has lost 8%, Chinese yuan lost 9%, Australian dollar lost 11%, South African rand lost 17%, South Korean won lost 18%, euro lost 18%, Poland currency has lost 21%, British pound lost 22%, Japanese yen lost 23%, Turkish lira lost whooping 52%. Though in the short term, fiat currency seems to be stable, but in the long term, you are losing your value 100%. So parking your wealth in fiat currency is safe, or parking your wealth on commodities and other stocks and cryptocurrencies. But we've been so far told that investing is risk, right? But not investing seems to be a bigger risk than investing. So what are the problems because of pound losing its value? Well, first of all, everything is going to be too expensive because UK is almost importing everything from everywhere. Like, it depends on oil and gas for other countries. So when oil and gas priced in dollar and pound has losing its value against the dollar, so oil and gas gonna be more expensive. Similarly, UK is importing nearly 45% of its food item from other countries. So when they fix all the price in the dollar, it's gonna be quite expensive in pound for the local residents. On top of it, recently the pension fund is about to collapse. The pension fund will always be invested in government bond directly or indirectly. So when the currency values goes down, the pound the bond values goes down. As a result, they were about to collapse, but in order to maintain the market stability, the government has to interfere. And so another big issue for many working class people is, the dream is to buy the house and living the life with a pension. So now many people may think that, like, what is the problem with pension? Well, the problem is, if the inflation goes up in this rate, and if you've been planning that after 30-40 years I'll be receiving £1,000 or £2,000 as a pension money, and I can live my life lavishly with that pension amount. If the cost of living price goes up like this, now you might be able to live with £1,000 or £2,000. But later, after 30-40 years, if the inflation rate goes this rate, you wouldn't be able to live even 10-15 days with £1,000. So what would you do? Would you have to leave the country, or would you have to work even after you retire? Because your pension fund is not enough to afford your lifestyle. So is the dollar safe haven to preserve your wealth? Well, if you take a little deeper, even dollar is not a safe house, because maybe for the past 6 months dollar might perform better than other currencies. But if you dip deeper and if you look for longer period of time, dollar has been losing its value against the gold for the last 50 years. Since 1971, when the dollar came out of the gold standard, it has been losing its value against the gold for the last 50 years. If you look at against the Bitcoin, it has lost its value significantly, because when the Bitcoin started around 2010, it was less than $1, but now it's worth nearly $20,000. But if you look for the last 6 months, even Bitcoin has lost some of its value against the dollar. But if you look for the longer term, dollar has lost its value significantly. So even dollar is not a safe house. This reminds me one of the famous dialogue from the legend investor Warren Buffett. Only when the tides goes out do you discover who is swimming naked. So in this currency war, who's gonna win the game? Is it US dollar or Chinese yuan or British pound or the decentralized currency Bitcoin? Only time will say who is swimming naked and who is swimming with swimming suit. Thank you for watching.